right, welcome back to the Counteract podcast. I'm Abigail DeJarnatt, and I am here with Macy Brookhouser, who is one of the members of our Counteract NWA Women's Cell. And I invited Macy here today because we did an episode a few weeks ago about why Christians should engage in activism, and then very quickly thereafter had an activism opportunity in Northwest Arkansas. We have the Arkansas Abortion Amendment coming up. They're collecting signatures to try to get it on the ballot in November. We want to stop that. We do not want them to collect the signatures to get that amendment on the ballot. So we had a group of our Counteract NWA men and women's groups come out there and just stand peacefully with signs and advocate for life, but also to deter people from signing the petition, especially people who didn't know what they were being asked to sign. So we had some pretty interesting interactions out there, especially for Bentonville, Arkansas. We were at the Bentonville Farmers Market. So Macy, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, how you got involved with Counteract, and then why did you show up that Saturday?
My name's Macy. I'm 19. Abigail was my voice teacher, and for the longest time she would text me and be like, when are you going to come to Counteract? You should check out Counteract. And I've always been super into politics. I watch, all the people and their podcasts. So I finally came, and I loved it, and so I've been a part of Counteract ever since then. And I decided I've been wanting to be a part of those protests and go hold signs and advocate for life. And so whenever I actually could go on Saturday, I was like, well, I'm not missing out on this.
Yeah, you were amazing. So what were you expecting from a activism opportunity in Bentonville, Arkansas?
Honestly, I went into it with no expectations. I don't want to say I was expecting people to stand there and throw stones at us, not actually, but I wasn't expecting that. I just went into it with no expectations, and it definitely was interesting.
So what made it interesting? What were some of the interesting aspects?
I think we got more positive feedback than I was expecting. Honestly, I was just like, I'm going to be standing there holding a sign. I wasn't expecting people to talk to us, I guess.
Yeah.
And definitely a lot of positive feedback, and I don't want to, push that aside because I think we got more positive than negative. Mm-hmm. But there were some interesting interactions that were quite negative.
Okay. We're there now. Yeah, it kind of got crazy out there. I actually wasn't expecting it to get the way that it did either, because again, for all of the more liberal leaning tendencies in our area, because if you don't know, Northwest Arkansas is actually not what you would picture when you think of Arkansas. It's the home of Walmart, Tyson, and J.B. Hunt, all in this little booming new metro area. So there are people from all over the world moving in. So that means there are ideas from all over the world moving in. It's not the echo chamber that it may once have been. So I was probably expecting the day to be a little bit more on the boring side, mm-hmm. more let's deter signatures, not really have a lot of interactions. But did you ever see yourself growing up as being an activist or doing activism?
I would say probably. I feel like in school I liked to get into those debates and make people talk about some uncomfortable topics. And of course, when I was younger, I don't think I went about that the right way.
But Sanctification.
Yes. It was definitely just I want to prove that I'm right. And I think the activism on Saturday really taught me that it's not about, it is about who's right, but you're not just there to argue with people. You're there to shine a light. And I think whenever I was reading the questions and thinking about, did I ever see myself do this? I would say yes, but I've learned so much about how to actually do it right.
So what are some of those things that you think that you've learned?
So I think it's important to remember that you're talking to people.
Yeah.
And And even though some of their ideas might be kind of crazy, and even though they might be shouting at you, they're still people, and they're lost people, and we're there to really show them Jesus's love and shine light on them and not argue with them and try and beat them down like some people do in a debate. It's much more than just a debate. It's going out there and showing the love of God.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, so do you think it's important for Christians to do things like that, to experience something like that?
Yes, the Bible says be a voice for the voiceless, and I think that's so important. There's so many people that can't speak up for themselves, like unborn babies. They can't speak up, and I think it's our duty to protect their lives and stand up for God's creation.
Yeah. Why do you think it's our duty as Christians?
I'm trying to think what answer you're looking for.
I'm not looking for an answer, but if you're looking at, you know a lot of Christians that are, it's easier to stay on the sidelines, or the Christians that will say, the people I know and love, they're like, oh, I don't do politics, like I'm not really into politics. Why do you think that it matters for Christians to be the ones speaking into these issues or standing and holding a sign?
I think it's because politics affects people, and we want people to be saved and know what's right, and make sure that we're being moral in our decisions.
Yeah.
And just like I know we've talked about before, you can't legislate morality, but every single law that's passed is somebody's moral views being passed. And so we want to make sure that the Christian biblical views are being passed and staying in effect.
Yeah, I don't know if it was like this for you, but I know that doing things like that Saturday are not like what I want to do on a Saturday.
Yeah.
It's I love activism opportunities. I'm so passionate about standing for life, especially that issue, but other issues as well. But I think for me, it's so easy to be in a safe, protected bubble.
Yeah.
Even with Counteract, I mean, I have a lot of awesome people around me. I have amazing people, community, like our Counteract cell that meets on Thursday nights in Northwest Arkansas. My team, people across the country, just an awesome bubble of people. It gets really easy to kind of talk about the things that are going on without actually influencing and being in the things that are going on.
Yeah.
So I know I have to sometimes make that conscious effort to get out of my comfort zone and remember that these people are not my enemy. The enemy is my enemy, and it's not about convincing them that they're wrong and that I'm right necessarily, but it's maybe they had one interaction. Maybe this is their only interaction with a Christian for the month or the year. Or maybe it's the only interaction with a Christian that it wasn't a cop-out or hateful. Maybe they had an interaction with someone who was rude and didn't know how to respond, and it didn't have that balance of grace and truth. So I know that I have to actively get out of my comfort zone, which is why I love these opportunities. I love that that you guys were willing to come out there. So tell me about some of the crazy parts. What was that like? I did very much walk up on Macy and our friend Alex getting absolutely screamed at by this woman, and they were holding their own, but this woman was not one of the people who's necessarily there to have a conversation. She was just truly there to tear them down. Yeah, I was like in mama bear mode. I saw red. I don't even know. So tell us a little bit about that interaction. Some of the other ones that, again, like we focus on the positive, like praise God for the people that we're willing to say, hey, keep it up, keep doing that. We're with you. If you're one of those people that sees someone on your side standing for truth or for life or whatever, make sure that you take the 2.5 seconds to encourage them or acknowledge that you're with them, that you see them, that you understand what they're doing and why they're doing it. Because there are the other people that are not necessarily encouraging. I think that was one of my key takeaways was, man, we've done marches for life at the state capitol and the national Capitol in D.C. I was at the Supreme Court when Roe v. Wade was overturned. There were some really antagonistic people out there, but it is a totally different ball game at home. Like, I was more nervous going 30 minutes from my house than I was for any of the other opportunities. And it's just the reality that spiritual warfare knows no bounds. It is not, it's not, the Bible Belt is not immune from spiritual warfare. So how are we as Christians? But I was so nervous that morning, and I woke up and I was going to do my quiet time, and I just opened my Bible to my next, like, what was next in my like reading plan. And it was Ephesians 6, which is, we do not wrestle against flesh and blood. It's the armor, about putting on the full armor of God. And I was like, okay, Lord, I understand. Okay. I will trust in you. So that was probably one of the most impactful things to me, but it's just realizing that this issue isn't isolated to these hot button areas. Like, it's home.
It's sure. Yeah.
Here. So tell us about those people that you maybe wouldn't expect to meet in Bentonville, but
yes.
Alas.
Well, the lady you were talking about, how it all started is we went to the street corner where the Arkansas for Limited Government people were standing there trying to get,
so dumb.
trying to get signatures. So we moved over to the street corner with our signs that say decline to sign to deter some of that. And this lady was there, and she stood in front of us first, like waving her arms, and we were just
the classic
sign
cover and block move. Yeah.
We were like, we can move our signs too. And so
that one's annoying.
That's how it started. And then she started talking to us. And honestly, I mean, it's all a blur because she was just rambling on and on and on.
Was she rambling in a gentle and...
No, definitely not. Definitely up in our face. And the first argument that she was making that I really remember is how she was claiming that abortion is... a good way to solve poverty. And
good.
Why should we let babies be born in poverty?
That's a good argument for abortion.
Why should we allow women to give birth and then that will keep them in poverty? I don't know. It was crazy, but I just kept on saying, so you believe that poor people don't have the right to life and that they can't also live happy lives? So that was interesting, and I was thinking about that. I was going through it in my head, because I always think about, like, 1,000 things I could have said after the fact, but, I mean, that lady wouldn't have listened to anything anyway. But I was thinking, I've been on a mission trip to Nepal, and I think of all the people living in poverty there, and they're living such a more joyful life than people I see living in wealth in the United States. They know what, like, the true value of life is, and they know the love of God, and they know that that's all they need to keep them happy. And so that just, impacted me, how in the United States so many people think that just because someone's going to live in poverty, that's a good reason to end their life.
Yeah.
And that's just crazy to me, because if you think of all these other countries, I don't think they would think that way. I think they'd think, we have a pretty good life and we're living in poverty. So just very eye-opening to how privileged we are in the United States and how that has affected a lot of people's viewpoints. And so I'm trying to think of some other things she said. Do you remember, did anything stick out to you?
She was one of those that... as soon as you could catch her and ask her a question that asked her to challenge her viewpoint, she realized she wasn't going to win that one. She would just
switch.
She would just bait and switch to the next argument and never land the plane. Then she starts going into her whole backstory, life story. I mean, so many expletives and obscene gestures that you can really... You have to kind of filter that out to like figure out what she's even saying.
Yes.
But then... it was so weird because then in the middle, she just had, like, simply lost her children.
Yes.
And someone comes up and is like, you lost your kids. Keep an eye on your kids. And it's her, like, elementary school-aged kids. And then she starts, arguing with us again. And at this point, none of us here are trying to win an argument. We want her to go away.
Yeah.
Like she's not
sure.
She's not gonna change her viewpoint. We're not changing our viewpoint. It's a stalemate. We just need to be done, right? So we're just trying to land the plane in some effective manner, or just without a huge explosion. But she starts up again, and then this gentleman comes by in a wheelchair, and he was like, because again, the optics don't look great for her.
Yeah.
I mean, it's this very tall, very large woman, up and screaming in the faces of 3, 5 nothings.
Yep.
Are you even 5 foot?
4'11 3/4.
Debatable. Okay. Right. So the optics don't really look great, no matter what side you're on. So a gentleman rode by in a wheelchair with his family. He's like, "Weren't you the woman who lost her kids 5 minutes ago?" And then I'll never forget it, because she just flips him off, and then turns back around to us, and she says, "Should have aborted him." And then she just couldn't even breathe. She was laughing so hard, and we were all just kind of standing there
it made me tear up, because her kids were sitting on the curb right there, they can hear that, and I was like, how much hatred do you have in your heart to say that in front of your own kids?
Mm-hmm.
And I felt so bad for her kids.
Mm-hmm.
And she even had said earlier that one of her kids identified as non-binary.
Mm-hmm.
And once her kids showed up and I saw this kid, it's like some 8-year-old.
Uh-huh.
This 8-year-old cannot identify as that without having that seed planted in their head. And that just broke my heart.
Mm-hmm. And then I think the way that the whole situation ended was we were talking about life beginning in the womb, because she was like, life at 18 weeks with. Anyways, it was this whole discussion, 18 weeks, and then we got her to 15 weeks, and then she was like, well, at 5 weeks, there's no heart, it's just electricity. It's like, what your heart is run by what?
Yeah.
Right. we were there, and so she was just about out of weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think Alex brought up that gender, the biological sex, which are one and the same, is determined at the moment of conception. And she, don't you ever speak hate in front of my kid ever again. Flips her off. She's like, because the most important thing is my children. And we were like, the ones you said, we didn't say this, but in my head, I'm like, the ones you just said you should have aborted.
Yep.
For the sake of argument. Make it make sense. But so first and foremost, my prayer in every one of those situations is Lord, help me to see these people as you see them, as harassed, like sheep without a shepherd.
Mm-hmm.
Help me have compassion on them, without buckling in a situation like that. So this lady just clearly had no, the abortion industry has obviously offered her no hope, or joy, or freedom in any narrative. But my question for you is I think these are the kind of situations that people our age, are afraid of, when they're going into a situation like this. These harsh, scary interactions, these long arguments with angry people are what keep people our age from going out and speaking up, even on social media or with friends or in an activism setting. Would you say that this situation scared you and is going to keep you from showing back up, or is it have the opposite effect?
I would say it had the opposite effect, and I really think it goes back to, we're not there to win an argument, and people like that, they won't listen to facts. And going into this, I was like, I don't feel equipped enough to go out there and, because I don't know all the facts, I don't know all that, but I know enough to know that life begins at conception, and that we're called to protect those who can't speak up for themselves. And then I was thinking, that's enough to go out there and stand out there, because I know the truths. I don't need to know every single illness that could happen in a pregnancy, and what do you do in this case, and what do you do in that case, because we got a lot of questions like that. At the end of the day, they're not going to listen to facts. All that matters is that we're showing them love and being the better person and showing them what it's like to have joy and not be miserable like that lady was.
She was clearly miserable. That's what I think made me so sad is that she clearly was lacking hope or peace in so many ways. So key takeaways from was that your first time coming? That was
time.
So brave. That was so good.
Yeah.
So cool. So what are kind of like your key takeaways, like your things that you're like, okay, Lord, like this was something I'll take into other aspects of my life?
I think patience with people, and judging other people, because that's so I don't want to say that's so easy, but it is when you're in instances like that and there's like some interesting people yelling things in your face.
Right.
It's just showing them forgiveness and not judging them and thinking that is God's creation. These are my peers. These are people that, live life just as I live life on this earth, and they're just lost, very lost. And I think definitely not judging would be one of my key takeaways, in having patience with those people.
This is kind of a bonus question, but how would you say that your conversations with other women or guys in Counteract over the last, you've been coming for like a year, right? Since you graduated high school. How would you say that those conversations kind of influenced you showing up and the interactions that you had while you were there?
I think Counteract just does a great job of empowering us all and equipping us and giving us a reason to go out and do what we do. And I think knowing that everybody there agrees with me and having people stand out there holding signs with me, that was amazing. And I really think, just having those side conversations with them, even when we were making the signs before we went out there and picking what we're going to say on the signs, all that just made the experience so much fun. And it didn't matter how many negative, people we had come up to us.
Yeah.
It just was so joyful to see a community of people and all go out there and rally for life.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's for me, it makes a huge difference to know that you're out there like with your friends, and we're gonna go get lunch afterward. Like life goes on. Like these are the people that we do life with, and this is a part of life. Is speaking it for the least of these. So really appreciate you going out there. So last question: what would be your advice or encouragement to young Christians who maybe want to speak up but don't know how, or maybe they're literally like, I appreciate what you're doing, but I'm not. Yeah, I could never do that. What would be your encouragement, your advice to someone in that kind of, what do I do situation? Yeah.
Well, I know we had a lot of people stop us and say, you're not even old enough to vote. Like, I'm 19. Yes, I am. But I was thinking about that too. It doesn't matter if you're old enough to vote either. It matters that you know the truth. And if you know the truth, then you know enough to go out there and hold a sign. If somebody wants to get in an argument with you or debate you, all you can say is, God bless you, have a great day. Like, we believe that all life is valuable, have a great day. You don't have to get into all the nitpicky things.
Right.
Like, I was scared what happened to me and that I wouldn't, be equipped and know what to say. But everyone's equipped as long as they know the truth. And I think that's empowering enough to, go out there and take a stand.
Yeah, no, as you were saying that, a verse came to mind as I was pulling it up, but it's 1 Timothy 4:12, which says, let no one despise you for your youth, but set the believers an example in speech and conduct and love and faith and purity. I think over and over in the Bible, there are instances of, well, you're too young, or this idea that we are too young to do anything about anything, but then you see where God raises up people like David. You see where God raises up people like Daniel, like Josiah, even Mary.
Yes.
These people are young.
And a lot of these people think, like, God, I'm not equipped enough to do this. I don't have the skill set to do this. But something that I feel like God spoke to me too was, even though you may not feel equipped, you go out there, you show up, and He equips you. And you keep on showing up, and you keep on gaining the skills to do that. And that's how you become equipped. You don't just, overnight become equipped, then go do it. He equips you through the trials.
Boldness is built.
Yep.
Boldness is a practice being courageous. My mentor sent that in our Counteract chat, and that well, yeah, it was convicting to me.
Yeah.
So to practice being
Yep.
courageous. Well, Macy, thank you so much
Yes.
for coming and joining. Before we go, we're going to talk about our sponsor, Patriot Mobile. We talk about Patriot Mobile all the time, actually, at our Counteract meetings. But Americans have had enough compromise. They're tired of all these companies that hate our values. So if you're tired of compromise, like we are, you're tired of all these companies that hate our values, and it's time to make the switch to Patriot Mobile, which is America's only conservative Christian wireless provider. They're an example of putting the cause ahead of the profits, and that's why we at Counteract USA are super proud to partner with them. Patriot Mobile offers dependable nationwide coverage, giving you access to all 3 major networks, which means you get the same coverage you've been accustomed to without funding the left. So when you switch to Patriot Mobile, you support the First Amendment, the Second Amendment, the sanctity of human life, our military veterans, and first responder heroes. Their 100% US-based customer service team makes switching easy, so you can keep your number, you can keep your phone, or upgrade. Their team will help you find the best plan to fit your needs. So just go to patriotmobile.com/counteract or call 972-PATRIOT. You can get free activation when you use offer code COUNTERACTUSA. Just go to patriotmobile.com/counteract. That's patriotmobile.com/counteract or call 972-PATRIOT. Macy, thank you so much again for joining us. If you want to get involved with Counteract USA, these sales, these conversations, these opportunities that we've been talking about here, you can check out our website at counteractusa.org. You can DM us on Instagram. We're on Facebook, all the things. Subscribe to this podcast. Thank you so much for joining us.